Okay, Friday the 7th of August 2026. So Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. I have a 3,000 day streak on Duolingo. Now, it's a bloody beautiful little achievement. It's a monument to discipline and consistency and motivation, because it's something I started on the whim in May 2018 with some plans to go to Spain, but I kept going with it, and for the vast majority of that time I have been learning Spanish. And the main thing I realize is there's a difference between motivation and discipline, and then you could say with desire as well. So there's the initial spark of motivation that inspires, or inspired me, but inspires people in general to do something. And then there's the discipline to keep going, to keep at it, to be consistent with it, to keep pushing forward. And you could combine that with the desire to master, in this case, the Spanish language, the desire to do, the desire to have, the desire to achieve, the desire to understand, the desire to communicate, the desire to travel, you could say, go places, and able to overcome that language barrier, that at a deeper level. And you combine that with an overall mission, live wealthy and well internationally, and then you've got a good recipe for achieving amazing things in life: motivation, discipline, and desire. Very nice. But then as I slowly finished all the Spanish lessons on Duolingo over the years, I was thinking and strategizing what to do next, because the next big milestone was 3,000 days. And I was thinking what to do: retire from the thing, just continue revising Spanish, learn a new language, which one? And I did multiple videos over the past few years as well about languages, which ones to learn, why, how, etc., etc. And the main thing to say is, if you're going to use it in terms of lifestyle or business and making money in some fashion. So I strategized what to do. Maybe start learning Arabic or Russian or French or Portuguese or Welsh or Gaelic, Scottish Gaelic, things like that, to strategize. And I thought, well, the only real language that has potential worthwhile for lifestyle and business is Portuguese. But here, and basically everywhere else, Portuguese is not really used. Nor is French, nor is Arabic, nor is Russian, nor any other languages. So I thought, well, maybe Gaelic for the sake of artistic reasons, and French or Arabic for academic reasons, for IQ, things like that. Maybe. But I thought, well, let's go deeper, because we can also learn music and chess and maths on there. So I thought, well, what could be the benefit of studying those topics in terms of strategy, logical thinking, patterns, and systems, things like that. So I then settled ultimately on studying maths, really just revising maths, studying maths again, to be more critical, to be more analytical, to be more systematic in thinking and logic and building, things like that. So it's fascinating how over time you could say there's a transition from one subject that's of importance, Spanish, because it's going to be utilized in many ways, then going to something else that can be utilized in many ways as well, maths. Because we don't really want to waste our time. We want to be doing something productive with it. And the app, Duolingo, is a very useful tool for learning, knowledge building. Very powerful, very important. And so then you want to say, identify the main reason why you're doing it and stay focused on it. Because in some way it doesn't matter which one you learn, which language or what subject you learn, as long as it's something important and adding value to you. Very, very useful in life. But then I realized that by not studying Spanish on Duolingo, I'm risk being adrift with the language. Then I'm thinking pragmatically, how can I improve my Spanish in general consistently, in spite of nothing to glean from Duolingo anymore? Well, it's books, it's speaking, it's analyzing words, it's using AI, things like that. I got a nice little list of a few interesting vocabulary words to study and break down, analyze, along with some other little grammar tenses to study, conditionals and whatever else, and things like that. So that's the risk you then play, that once you've finished the whole series on the language, all the topics, all the lessons, how then are you learning the language after that? Because you could argue you want to revise it as well, yes, but that's just lifestyle in this case, using it everywhere. But then how do you continue learning at the same pace as before? Because as a principle, what I noticed a couple of years ago is that on a rolling 6-month basis, my Spanish was consistently getting better. Meaning my Spanish today versus 6 months ago was better, was noticeably better. And then 12 months ago, almost night and day. And 24 months, so 2 years, night and day. So it's important to keep learning and keep growing. Because you could say you want to master the language, master the absolute nuances, the culture, the pronunciation, the slang and beyond. It's fractal, there's no limit to how deep and complex you can go with it. And then that is going to be propelled forward by your desire, your motivation, your discipline. You know, the stronger the desire to master the language is, the deeper and more nuanced the words and grammar will be, the deeper this research and study will be, especially, or compounded by the fear almost, the worry of forgetting the language and or being stagnant for too long with the language. We don't want that in life. Always be making progress, always be growing. So, but those are some interesting observations. 3,000 days? Bloody hell. 4,000 days? I think I'll be finishing maths by then. And then after that, I don't know. Maybe Portuguese at that point, I guess. Because if any other language is remotely useful, it'll be that. But that's mainly Portugal and Brazil. And, you know, options and choices. Because you can go deeper to say and theorize. Because what I noticed, at an interesting, deeper psychological level, is, you see, I studied German on Duolingo in 2014-15. And it was very much just mechanical. It was systematic, where I say this and say that. I say this and do that. I don't use this and do that. So it was always muscle memory, without understanding the nuances of the language. You know, gerunds, tenses, perfect tense, etc., etc. But what I noticed, that like an icebreaker, that once I was able to understand the nuances between English and Spanish initially, in order to study Spanish, the nuances, the grammar, the rules, the syntax, things like that, I feel that it's even easier to learn a third language, because the scaffolding and foundation is already there, because that was established almost brute force via learning Spanish. So then over time, to learn a third language will be easier, and then a fourth one even easier, and a fifth one even easier, because the structure, the scaffolding, the foundation, the fundamentals are already understood. The technicalities are already understood. It's just a question of nuances, a question of ahora versus adora, Spanish versus Portuguese, things like that, or where it's completely different in pronunciation, things like that. It's fascinating how, from a psychological level, it gets easier and easier, because you understand the technicalities. The path's already there, just do it again, and do it again, the technicalities. It's interesting bit of psychology, yeah, interesting. But otherwise, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Subscribe for more, and you will see me tomorrow.